something that's inconclusive?
Well, yes, yes.
Okay. Did you?
What up, y'all? This is your boy Joe. I was on here earlier today. You know, I just had this. I just had this thought hit me. You know, I was thinking about Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye is one of the. There were only a few artists in the music industry that I gravitated to as a child. Marvin Gaye was one. Prince was another. And I always liked Barry White. But you know, not that it has anything to do with this video. You know, Marvin had an album, a classic album called What's Going On. And on that album, it had a song, What About the Babies? And it's just wild, y'all, because you're seeing habitual cycles revealed in plain sight play out over and over and over and over and over again. And no one, the intended audience, does not see or want to get involved. Some of us may know that as generational curses because you're a spirit before you were physically a human being on this planet. Let's make that clear. But what amazes me more and more as we progress through society, as the years go by, the more and more we advance, and evolve as a society, the things that matter most, the things that we should value, the things that truly make up the definition of your identity, those are the ones that are most sacrificed and not protected. And I've noticed that it is so blatant nowadays that from the world's point of view, they want to do everything they can to destroy and denounce God's involvement. So that means you. So that means you're not out of the woods because you are going to be challenged. You're going to constantly be tested. And you're going to constantly be given the opportunity to be swayed, to second guess yourself. And the question should be, why? I've noticed in my development, as we continue to grow until we die, is that even though it was covertly done within the last 20 years or so, the banner was placed on to destroy the foundation of the man, what he represented. You can remove the cultural background. You can remove the identity of where this person is, the male role, the role in family structures. And I notice a lot of that is being played out off of false platforms built off of fear. And more people are not excusing the positions that they're taking, but on the same breath are shocked on the outcome that comes from those choices. I don't know if y'all noticed this. If y'all try to, you got to discern what you take in, y'all. You have to, because hey, let's call it for what it is. The devil controls media, all shapes and forms, because he's going to use that nothing more than an avenue to get inside, to corrupt that heart, corrupt that spirit, that blessed spirit. But you know what's been going? I don't know if y'all have taken notice. Have y'all noticed there's been a commonality for 3 years, for 3 weeks in a row? There's been stories in the media about moms, single moms, killing their children. 3 weeks straight. The devil's a liar. He's trying to tighten up my tongue, but you're not gonna win, because I know somebody right now needs to hear this. For 3 weeks in a row, there has been a story about a single mother that has chosen to kill their children. That's not by chance, y'all. That's a revelation. That's to get your attention. And that's why I try to convey to each and every one of you, especially my little boys and little girls that happen to stumble onto this channel. Let me let you know something. Your dreams and aspirations are great, but the responsibility to harvest those, that means you got to invest in you. That means you got to unequivocally do the work. That means your time will be sacrificed. Because you got to understand something. Your dreams are nothing but thoughts. Your thoughts become patterns. Your patterns will become the foundation of your behavior. But more so, it will be demonstrated as your direction. It can be interpreted as your purpose. But what's so amazing is, y'all, there is an obvious filter being placed out there on the boob tube. They don't call it the boob tube for nothing, because it's a tool, y'all. Why you think they make smart TVs? So they can program it to the things that have your attention. I know I'm talking to someone. It's no secret, y'all, that the things that you need to enhance your life, you're going to have to search for those. You'll never find it when it's conveniently for you. I know somebody's saying, well, Joe, that's what on demand's for. You are the demand. So shouldn't it be there for you when you need it? Not in the wee hours. Not buried between infomercials. Not smeared between useless media space to distract you from what you need to do by using illustrations of bad behavior. But we are what we attract, y'all. Did you hear what I said? Did you hear me? Did you feel me? We are what we attract. But you know what amazes me though? How can you call yourself independent? I don't care the gender. That is irrelevant. If you won't look at the things that suppress you, how strong are you? Just like the parable. We are as strong as the weakest link. That means whatever your flaw is, that's a definition of your strength. I know I'm talking to someone. But guess what? Anybody take in consideration that there's something bigger something more sinister, made invisible, that will influence your behaviors. I'm not talking about no conspiracy. The greatest conspiracy was that the devil convinced man he didn't exist. But if he didn't exist, why is so many people suffering? Why is so many people dying? Why is there so much confusion? I'll tell you why. Because the things that make your reality, the things that are within your grasp, the things that are tangible, you don't like and you don't want to admit they exist. But you have the power to change. I mentioned this many years ago. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you exactly when I said it. I did a video called Fool's Gold and Rockin. And I talked about the resurgence of why so much negative behavior in our social community was being condoned. Why is it that so many people feel like, hey, I gotta take matters into my hands, otherwise it won't turn out the way I desire it? But it never turns out the way you desire it, because that's a want. But you know what else? It's also protection, because God ain't in it. Every day, y'all, there are people waking up to choose to live another life, to breathe air into that false identity that ain't their lives. It's not. And you're walking around perplexed. You're walking around confused. You're walking around with this conversation inside your head, which is called your truth. Why do you think people don't understand you? Why do you think that you always seem to be a magnet for bad behavior? Because that lives inside you. Well, guess what? You got to get it out. But guess what? It ain't going nowhere until you honestly become transparent to acknowledge it exists. And I'm going to tell you why I put this out here. It seems more than ever you have people more driven on receiving the reward. I don't care what it is, but do not put the same effort in. In other words, they want something for nothing. But yet you're shocked. You're shocked. You're pissed off that it comes out the way it does. You know why? Because you won't look yourself in the mirror. I ain't talking about the person you become. I'm talking about the person you really are. That person. That person that it doesn't matter what trinkets you've obtained. Sure, from the outside, everybody think you got it going on. But inside, you loathe yourself. You don't love yourself. So you have more or less become a product of your environment, being reciprocated over and over and over and over and over again. That's why we are seeing so many people that are impressionable on events. Haven't you noticed when you turn the TV on, say the news, you don't even know the whole story, but automatically place judgment on what is projected out. Don't you realize someone had to sit down and write that story and you don't know their disposition? But we don't look at that because it's given. It's up to us to discern it. In other words, that's no different than today's society, especially in the Black community. Every young woman, every little girl, from the moment she becomes conscious of who she is, I don't care how old she is, seeds are planted in her progression. That means that's that family structure, the influence, the constant influence, working on the psyche of that little boy, little girl. But it seems more and more today. A lot of little girls in my community grow up to be broken women. And the thing is, you ain't got to be that way. That ain't your story. You got little girls from the suburbs drawn to the bad boy in the hood. Why is she drawn to him? Because there was something that was not instilled in her at home. She's seeking validation on them streets. That's where a lot of lessons are being taught. Some are being taught by the price of life. Because guess what? There's going to be somebody that's going to get up today, start their day, and they ain't going to make it home. They're not coming home. And that's another testimony will never be heard. That's another blessing that will never be shared. That's another connection that will never be embraced. But see, we live in a world now more than ever, y'all. Society wants to teach you to hate yourself. You ain't good enough the way you are. You know what? Devil's a liar because God made you priceless. But socially, it's your environment distracting you from you. I get it. There's a lot of young little black boys that have natural gifts from the moment they took their first breath. If they had the proper support and guidance, they would make the world spin. Like I said, I'm just using that because you can take the cultural background away. You can take the nationality from that because that little boy can be found in Ireland or live in Botswana or live right next door to a house near you. But we're being taught to desensitize ourselves with more shock and awe every day. It is splattered and force fed every day. Why? Because it makes money. So I'm going to say this to somebody right now because I know in the intended time and moment, this video going to find you. See, right now, you feel like you the oddball. You don't fit in. And everybody got something to say about you. You know why this is going on? Two reasons. Number one, you got angels watching your steps, and they are protecting you from the things you can't see and the things you have yet to learn. So there's some divine intervention going on. So you're not supposed to fit in circles. Mm-mm. Don't get caught up on that, because you are a walking example of what we know as the exception to the rule. See, we live in a world of cubic zirconian people that if they only would ground their feet, they would see the diamond, which is them, the real them. But somewhere along the way, life has convinced them to not invest. Life has convinced them to stay the status quo. Well, I ain't shit, so you ain't shit. Excuse my French. I should have thrown the disclaimer out, but I know this is going to reach somebody. Right now, your finances has got you in a chokehold, and you frustrated because you see your little friends out there having a good old time. But let me tell you something. You stick to the path. If you stick to the path, you know what's going to happen? Meanwhile, you will be a walking example of the fable, the ant and the grasshopper. For those who do not know that story, just go up here and look it up. Your life is meant to be celebrated in the intended time. That's why God don't give you everything. He don't give you everything. That's why every door is not going to be open to you. They're not supposed to. You can also mirror that as your progression for you seeking your education. For example, currently I'm not attending school. I haven't attended school for almost 2 years. Do I regret it? Nope. Not right now, because it is not the time. I have other things that I have to place my hands on and develop within me. But trust and believe, mark my words, before 2020 is reality, 2021 to be precise, you'll see Dr. Gerald Davis. You'll see him, because everything I'm doing, everything I'm experiencing is about my legacy. That's why I always echo to you, my kings, protect your seed. I know Queens are saying, why you say that, Gerald? Why is it all about him protecting the seed? Well, let's look at it. Do I have to spell it out? There are some people that can see who you are and your potential that has not been harvested out. And they will systematically come into your life to latch on, to hook that parachute connected to your direction. And they will go wherever you go. But just like with every parachute, you add a little air into it, it expands. The drag becomes, and it slows down the descent. But eventually, you land where you should be. But think of it. You got a lot of self-sabotaging going on, but you got some systematic planning going on too. It's no surprise you have little girls out here that are being nurtured, being harvested like grapes on the vine, and their parents are telling them, hey, you're going to only date this person, type of caliber person. Never do you hear the person going to come into your life is going to be God-fearing. No, they too be worried about the status. Meanwhile, she goes through life and she scrapes her knees. She goes through experiences that are traumatic. Instead of having the support system that she genuinely deserves, she is constantly reminded to suck it up. That's the road to womanhood. You got to deal. You ain't got to deal. When somebody says you got to deal, they basically saying you got to settle. You're not a settlement. You're a blessing. But guess what? You got to have choice in that. You got to sign off on that. But what's so alarming nowadays, even the justice system is starting to take note, and they're realizing that you have a lot of people that have mental issues. Let me get this, let's get this straight. Why don't they call it for what it is? You got a lot of broken people making bad decisions, and they, for whatever reason, didn't get the support they needed. Or it was afforded to them and they refused. Well, what do you expect the harvest to be? Because we live in a society where we promote winning at all costs. Look at our what's going on now. Look at all the campaigning going on now. What is the ultimate what is the ultimate thing? To win at all costs. Even if that means I have to humiliate you. How about walking grace? What about that? But you got some people now that will even pick up the banner to justify bad behavior. You got people, what's that term, slut shaming? Well, maybe I want to do this and do that, do this. Listen here. Until you decide to take that mask off and stop running for yourself, running from yourself, you're going to suffer. And it's going to get worse. Don't matter who's the audience. It's going to keep getting worse. You know why? It's to protect you from you. Some people don't get it. And unfortunately, their lives are cut short. Some people check out. That guy walking on the block that's talking to himself didn't get there yesterday. There was something that happened in him that he said he couldn't deal. So he was having a connection, me, myself, and I. He was doing all that because guess what? I guarantee nickel toward now, he's under demonic influence. He's being tormented. You see this all the time. You reach out to somebody and their attitude is on 92, but it's 7 o'clock in the morning. What got you so angry? You know what got you so angry? All those things that you should have done, all those questions that you bottled up, all those truths that you refuse to speak. That's why you hear about people unfortunately walking in buildings and shooting it up and doing things as a way of showing their false strength. But guess what? There's no accountability there. You have women now, and listen, I'm saying this not to show shade, not to show uh no, it's not about that. And I know there are gonna be some people that ain't gonna hear what I'm saying, but I'm telling you now, until you decide to love yourself more, you're gonna lose. You're gonna constantly take L's because you're constantly doing things you ain't supposed to do. That's just like somebody in an abusive relationship giving advice to someone else, but you ain't leave. Isn't that hypocritical? But actually, that's Stockholm Syndrome. And you got a lot of people that are reared in Stockholm Syndrome type families. Instead of seeing it for what it is, we dumb it down and we disassociate it with by just saying, "Oh, they just crazy. They'll be all right." We rationalize their behavior. Why? Why are you doing that? Because don't you realize the apple don't fall from the tree? I know I'm not the only one that sees this. If mommy and daddy is getting high, getting drunk, fighting on a regular basis, and you have children reared in that, guess what? They're going to assume that that's normal behavior. No. If that little boy didn't have the support that he needed to understand his identity, guess what's going to happen? He's going to pick up the traits that were most evident. So does it surprise you that Junior has feminine traits? I know I'm talking to someone, and I'll prove it. You give me a little boy that's been reared. Look here, there's nothing you can say. But every time a single mom tries to raise a boy to be a man, you set him up to fail. And you inadvertently open the emotional door for the next woman to come and take advantage of your baby. I know I'm talking to someone. That's why, King, when you bring her home to meet mom for the first time and she ain't feeling a certain kind of way, or your mom ain't showing the support that you wish she would to give validation, you know why mama do that? Because mama sees traits of herself in that little girl. But we always put mama on a pedestal. Mama can never do wrong. Mama sacrificed unlike any other. Why? Because dad wasn't there. Has anybody even taken into consideration why dad's not there? Or maybe you may have been reared in an environment where mom had a lot of boyfriends, but mom was never a bride. I know I'm talking to somebody. You might have been raised in an environment where there was nothing but a whole lot of women. Haven't you scratched your head on that? There's a spiritual influence in that. Let's look at the family tree. If the mother and the father make the genetic code of the tree, right? 23 chromosomes is from your mom, the other 23 is from your father. This tree is your lineage. That lineage comes from the roots. Those roots were from the elders that made your mother and made your father. So if there was no stability, in either one. Does it surprise you your environment also matches that too? I'll do one better. How about these little boys that are being raised to embrace manhood before they even know who they are? They feel disfranchised because there was no male influence, and the only male influence they had was found in the streets. So does it surprise you that they idolize the drug dealer? How about the pimp? How about the bully? How about Johnny that can't stay out of jail? I say that as a man, a spiritual man. There is no book to teach boys to become men other than that Bible. Now, I know there are going to be many people going to sit up here and say, well, Gerald, the Bible was written by a man, it was covertly done, and it was used as a tool to enslave the masses. Okay, that is your opinion. But you know, one thing I've also come to learn about that is when you get to a place within yourself and you start to take inventory of where you are now. Just take stock on what you've seen. How about the people you were connected to? You will start to see the commonality and the traits that make up your personality. I know I'm talking to someone. If you think that you were born on this planet to play the role of the entertainer, I'm not talking about the one on the stage. I'm talking the one that walks in your life, the supporting cast member, the extra helping hand. Who's giving you that helping hand? Who is there for you when you fall down? Who is there for you when you need someone to embrace you and say, it's going to be okay? How about them, those conversations that need to be shared? What about that? Because, see, we live in an age where men are being systematically sabotaged from birth. They give them what they need, nothing more. I need you to be a provider. So you're building your son to be someone else's pack mule? Is that what you're doing? And then you're wondering why Johnny is not committed, but Johnny got a whole lot of kids. Because see, Johnny don't know Johnny yet. Same for Sarah. Sarah wants to give up. Sarah's got 5 kids before the age of 30. But nobody asked about Sarah's hopes and aspirations. So what does Sarah and Johnny do? They look outside their reality to reality TV. I know I'm talking to someone. Kings and Queens, let me explain something. See, those people on the screens don't live the lives that you see. That is scripted. When the cameras go off, the real person comes out because there is a routing number. There is a bank account that they are being compensated for the behavior that they project out to the masses. See, they need that as an illustration to convince you to continue doing what you're doing. See, right now we're being groomed, especially you women. Society, I keep telling you, society wants you to play the role of the Jezebel, the social prostitute. That's why they glamorize the ladies that walk the night. the ladies that are the social concubines. Have you no shame? Hmm? Oh, as long as he gives you that $100,000 car, you are his for the night. Okay. Where is your self-worth? Where's your self-respect? You can't find it in your bank account. And it won't matter a hill of beans when you are laying in that hospital bed fighting for your life. But one thing's for sure is this: there'll be another impressionable little boy or little girl waiting to take your place, to do the things that you would not do, all for a few pieces of silver, a few trinkets of gold. You would think that people would have learned from what Judas went through. But see, if you don't have a relationship with God, you're not going to see the pitfalls, the obstacles, and the distractions intended for your progression. You know why? Because you don't know you yet. All you know is how your body reacts to certain situations. So how can you really keep reaching for the stars when you keep looking on the ground? Which is funny because you have so many women nowadays that want to have that fairy tale, want to have that fairy tale wedding, which if you really looked at it, it's really nothing but a ritual of sacrifice. It really is. That's what a wedding is. That family is sacrificing their daughter to gain access of the other family. So what bring them together? That is the gift. You realize how many people put more emphasis on a wedding day than the relationship? Don't even make it past the first year, but they've got years of debt that they got to pay. Ain't nothing worse having to pay for a wedding that has no love in it. I hear people all the time. Well, you know what, Gerald? It's the bride's day, so we want to make sure uh, that the bride gets what she wants, and we wonder why we have bridezillas. You know, I kind of blame, in a way, I kind of blame uh, the movie Coming to America for that illustration. Yes, that was a great movie, but guess what? That also planted a seed that, well, you know what? Yeah, I know that's my baby, and I want to go ahead and make sure her day is on point. But really, that is nothing but a display to the joining family, as well as those in attendance, for false validation and fake status. You know, it's funny because it's no secret. Um, Jewish families do it all the time. Italian families do it all the time. You know, it is about that dollar to them. It is the father's way of showing the oncoming family, yes, I got this, you know, instead of having a nice wedding and making an investment on them. But I mean, ultimately, the bride and groom have to do their work, which means you must have a communication and a connection with your mate. But if either one of you do not have a relationship with God, guess what? You've just sealed a contract that is not blessed, and guess what? It fails. It fails. And you see it all the time because you have a lot of families that are grooming their daughters to play the subservient role too. Yes, they put that right in their head from day one. You're gonna only date NFL players or athletes. Why? Because they got money, they got influence, and daddy wants access to that. Mommy wants access to that because if I can use you as the ladder to bring them, then that's gonna open up opportunities for the family. How shallow can you be? I ain't going out like that. I think it should be one of those situations where if your children are getting married, you give them a simple wedding, a realistic wedding, and invest in an investment, that should be dispersed in time. 5 years, okay, you want to have this, we'll go ahead and do it. 5 years. Prove to me that you can make it past 5 years. Most don't want that. Most people just want the honeymoon. That's why ratchet women always become the statistic too, because you see the signs before that day. You already know you ain't supposed to be with that guy, but you allow your ego and pride to march you down that aisle to open that spiritual door called pain. I'm a firm believer you can't yoke with just anybody. I don't care how fine they are. I don't care how much qualities they bring to the table. If they don't have a relationship with God, they'll never have a relationship with themselves. And if they don't have a relationship with themselves, guess what? They will never have a relationship with you. That's the definition of what intimacy is, not the honeymoon. That's why it's easily seen those people that have been blessed to be married 30 plus years, 40 plus years, 50 plus years. Why? Because they saw the investment. They knew what was at stake. And they didn't settle for a honeymoon. They planned for a life. You can keep the honeymoon. Give me the life. But you can't, a ring is not going to guarantee your happiness either. But God will. Just some thoughts, y'all. There's a video circulating right now. Might have seen it, where there's this mother. Oh, yeah, she was a sister. She was taking her daughter to school, and she had her ass completely out. Out. Not it was it was too small, and no, her ass was out with a thong, and and it's like a lot of these women that have weight, they think that, well, because I have weight, that's what real men want. They want that big old ass and them big titties, and that's my path through life. But I'm gonna tell you what, as long as you treat yourself like a prostitute, all you're gonna attract are Johns. But guess what? After the deed is done and you in cleanup mode, so is the investment. Because you know why? That's what opportunists do. We are what we attract. That's how they roll. That's why they don't know what they're doing next week, because they live in the moment. That's why you always hear that you only live once. What? Your spirit is forever. Your wounds is not your wounds should not be that. That's why we have a pandemic of STDs out here. That's why we have a pandemic of people that are serial daters. Blink twice, you with Johnny. Blink twice again, there's Larry. What happened to Johnny? I don't love him no more. You didn't love him because you didn't love yourself. The commonality is that's more wear and tear on your body. Remember that remember that temple? Remember the temple? I ain't talking about this. I'm talking you. You just gave access to somebody that did not see your worth. For what? An orgasm? Another bill to be paid? Your life is not leased to own. You got people actually have this mindset of, well, you got to pay to play. I heard somebody tell me once, why buy the cow when you can get it for free? But if you walk around like a heifer, people are going to come around and try to milk you. So why does it surprise you that it's sour? But see, I get it though, because which is a contradiction because a lot of women want to play this. I'm a strong, independent woman. First of all, you ain't independent. You wasn't brought on this planet to live alone. What's dividing you from that is your pride and ego. And every time you put your hands in something that God's not in, you're going to get nothing out of it but pain. Why you think you got them stretch marks? Oh, I'm going to keep it real. Why you think your breasts supposed to sit up here, but they're sitting on your stomach? Because you let fools have access to something that is blessed. And you wondering why you got a bad attitude? I would have a bad attitude too if I wouldn't look at what's broken because you're bottling it up. But look at the effect that you cause. Huh? You can't call yourself a strong person if you're not trying to attack your flaws. But here's the beautiful thing about flaws. Flaws are your uniqueness. This is what divides you from her. From every scar to every hair follicle, it's you. So why are you living your life second place or second rate? Because you'll never hear Rihanna say, I'm like her, or Beyonce like her. But our community, oh, we spend our last dollar to emulate a false image. I gotta love those fallen angels for that because they're the reasons why women do what they do. They taught that. They taught how to make the power of seduction. That's not blessed. So now we living in a world where sodomy is the it thing to do. Don't you realize sodomy is nothing but control? Well, I better do what he tells me and do it like he wants or he'll leave me. He shouldn't have never been there. You don't believe me? Shut it down and see, watch his disposition change. Same thing for you, kings. You got somebody in your life, you want to see how genuine they really are? Stop doing what you're doing. Stop. Sit back and put your seatbelt on and watch what comes out of it. I guarantee you ain't gonna like what you see. Because what you're gonna see is the real. So you gotta understand something, y'all. Jero got love for you. I do. But you can't sit up here and say, woes is me. Why is my life this way? and you already know what's wrong, and you don't make a valid choice to repair that. Take the stopwatch out your life. You know, they got people. Look, if you treat your life like a candle, guess what? Eventually, instead of basking in its light, you burn it up. Why you think you got so? Listen, y'all, you got people in their 30s that look like they in their 60s, got complications like they were in their 70s. That's not by chance. That's orchestrated. Do you think it's not a surprise? They said, well, hey, you know what? We can't stop them, but as long as we can get something off the top, that's good. You know why? They want to destroy this. They want to destroy, they want to control this because they know as long as they damage this is controllable. hmm You're not a threat anymore because you have cognitive thought. Come on now, they wasn't running CPAP machine commercials on prime time 3 years ago. Hmm? It's about that dollar, y'all. The more broken you are, the more money they make. God ain't in that. But guess what? I know there are some people that are living with soul ties, soul contracts that are not rightfully theirs. They were inherited by their lineage. That's right, I said it right. Something that maybe your elder may have done and never atoned with. And guess what? It manifested to become your behavior. You ever thought about that? That's why I kind of laugh at people when they say, well, you know, I'm investing in my ancestry. Yeah, I want to do that. Do you really want the truth? You know, I don't put any emphasis on these databases. I see it differently. I think that these selfies is nothing but information for any individual that uses the internet to build a profile of you, voice, facial, financial, so that if they have to pull you up, guess what? They run your social, there's you. There's your life right there. Everything you've done right there. So on the flip side, if you do something or something is not like, they got to come look for you. They got all your information. They know who you connected to. They know who you related to. And they know your habits. You ever thought about that? And I'll say this, Queens. Don't you think it's kind of ironic that the hottest items on the planet for you and your beauty, your beauty comes from inside, first of all. Can't buy that. And those who try to do that, that's nothing but economic prostitution. But don't you know that those are also the same things that bring no shame? I mean, they bring no honor to you as all. I mean, come on, think about it. If you had yourself together and you were happy, why would you do so much stuff to fit in a box that you don't belong in? They said your hair follicles wasn't good enough. You're right. It's better if you grow it. But you got little girls running around bleaching their skin. You know, every time that you bleach your skin, you basically saying my legacy, my lineage was not good enough, and God made a mistake in my life. But also, it's an illustration that also shows that you have low self-esteem too, because you're saying that the way that you look was in vain. My backside was not good enough. How about your self-worth? You got these women running around playing Barbie doll. Don't you realize there's going to come a time where you're going to give up these behaviors, and you know what's going to happen? You're going to put on all this weight. You're going to be the big mama of the 70s. You remember what's happening? Remember? She had a bad disposition. She loved her kids. She had no problem pulling that belt out either. But she was always tired. She always had to go beyond. But daddy wasn't there now, was he? These sitcoms are nothing but programming for social embrace. They systematically do it. They don't do it for entertainment. They do this for social engineering. Look a little deeper. Look at the dialogue. You know why they do that? Because they don't want you to reject. They don't want you to say, this ain't my cup of tea. And this is the world we're living in. Because the world we're living in is saying to you, you're not good enough unless you fit in. You'll never find happiness if you go looking for it. God asks you to do one thing: prepare. But if they don't have a relationship with God, they can never protect you from yourself. But they can't grow with you either. I know somebody looking over there at they may like, he talking about you. I'm talking about you because you had to sign off to be right there too. God is praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Your walk on this planet is not to play the role of the Jezebel or the concubine or the side chick or the one that who can be a basket of more disrespect. You better see your worth before it's too late.